Alrighty folks, so I thought I would do a video. On how to write a book. Because every single day or every single time I talk about the 2 books I've written, people often say to me, Mark, how did you write a book? Did you contact a publisher? Did you self-publish? What did you do? How did you do it? And all that good stuff, right? So I thought I'd do a very brief video on the process I went through. So if you're the kind of person that's looking to write a book, hopefully this will simplify the process a lot for you so that you're not sitting in agony for 2 or 3 months or years thinking, how do I write a book? How do I get my book out there, right? So here's the deal, folks. I'll be right back. Up till now, I have written 2 books. I have written the first one there, Creating Transformation, which is all about face-to-face workshops and how do you run them effectively. And then the second one was all about how do you run Zoom sessions and workshops online really effectively, right? So in this video, I want to cover 3 simple things for you. The first one is writing the thing. A second thing is essentially how do you publish the thing. And then the third one is essentially how do you market the thing, i.e. the book, right? So the first one there is writing the thing. So ultimately for me, when I was looking to write the book, I was thinking about who am I writing it for? Who am I writing it for? And when you get that very clear in your mind, you can start to think, all right, the person I'm writing it for, and I'm going to just assume that you're writing a non-fiction book, right? Now, you could be someone that's writing a book on a how to do XYZ, or even your journey with grief, or your journey mastering XYZ topic, or maybe you're somebody that's an expert in a particular thing and you want to get your expertise out to the marketplace. So the first question you want to ask is, who are you writing it for? Now, in my case, I was actually writing it for myself for the 20 years ago version of me, all right? So when I was writing it, I was always just thinking in my head, what would the 20-year-old version of me, like 20 years ago, what did he need to hear, see, read about? Now, obviously I had my topic of running workshops, right? But you may be thinking about, okay, you're going to write a book on saving for your first home, or navigating mortgages, or whatever your field of expertise is, right? So you want to be thinking about, who are you talking to? And then the next thing you want to think about is, what are the core problems that they all face? Now, what you also want to think about is, where is somebody now and where would they be after they've read your book, or where do you want them to be after they read your book, right? So along that journey, you can kind of map it out, right? And you can kind of go, all right, when someone first starts out, what do they really struggle with? And then by the end of the book, where do you want them to be, or what would the hell to heaven kind of look like, right? And you can then write down all the problems that they may face and all the things that they would need to learn along their journey, all right? And what you do is you list out all of the problems and you pop it on a sticky note if you want to pop it on a sticky note, right? You list out all the problems that they would face. And then, lo and behold, those problems then become the chapters in your book, right? And what I did is basically think about, all right, what's all the problems that a trainer, facilitator, coach, and mentor actually faces, right? So one problem could be a disengaged audience. How do you create engagement? Another one could be losing your voice and looking after your voice, right? So that became a chapter in my book, right? So all the problems that people faced along their journey going from hell to heaven, I wrote basically a chapter on that topic, right? So one example might be time management, all right? So that was a critical thing, right? Now, this particular topic chapter could have gone anywhere in the book, but what the sticky notes allows you to do is you can map out on a whiteboard or some butcher's paper, essentially the chapters and the sticky notes allow you to move things around. So you may go, all right, chapter 1, all the way up to chapter 27, and then you can just grab your sticky notes and then just pop them along the way, right? And then what you can do is essentially what I did. I'm going to be a little bit naughty and tell you, I basically just wrote 27 blog articles, right? So I asked myself around the topic of engagement, okay, how do I, as a presenter, build engagement? What are some systems, some strategies that I use? And I just wrote them down as if I was having a one-on-one conversation with the reader, all right? And I just took a very casual style to writing it all in a very much a blog format. Then, after I'd written my 27 blog articles, what I then decided to do, or, God help to do, was I added in stories along the way to illustrate my key points, right? So I had my core bare bones, so to speak, of my 27 concepts I wanted to get across. And then I added in stories or key points to illustrate those things along the journey, right? And I added those in, and then the book was pretty much done, right? Having said that, we then ventured into the editing phase, right? So first stage is writing the thing, 27 chapters, speaking about the problem, speaking and thinking about who am I speaking to, right? So now we go into editing phase, right? Stage number 2. Now, hopefully you're seeing the simplicity of the process, right? Step number 2 is I had a very dear friend that I employed as a proofreader and a kind of editor, but kind of also designer of the book. So what I did is I sent her through my Word document manuscript, and basically what she did is she came up with illustrations for each of the concepts. She also came up with putting a chapter list together, and she also put the words or the content into a book manuscript kind of format. And she worked on that, right? And then she would send it back to me. I'd read it, find the typos. I'd send it back to her, and we'd have the corrections, interactions that went back and forth, right? And we would generally have maybe 8 or 9 iterations of the book. And that was really cool. That was super helpful. And basically, I'd find a typo, we'd fix it up, she'd make the changes. She would basically let me know if something could be said better or different. That was really cool, right? Now, also, one thing that she did really, really helpfully, if that's a word, is she was also my photographer, all right? So with a book, you really want to think about the design cover of your book. And in my case, she was my photographer, and she came along and took some photos of me standing in front of my computer. But the thing is, ultimately, you've always got a choice, right? Are you the book? Are you the image for the book? Or is the process or the system the book, right? And that really comes into play when you decide the front cover of the book, right? Is it going to have you on it, or is it going to also focus on the system or the idea or the concept, right? Now, either is fine. It doesn't really matter. But whether you are marketing yourself as part of the book or just promoting the system and you are kind of the vehicle to the system, right? So, I was lucky. I had that person as my proofreader, my designer, and my photographer as well, right? And if anyone wants that person's details, happy to send them through. But definitely, if you can get a one-stop shop on that person, then you're pretty much good to go, right? Now, next part of the process is the publishing side of things, right? Now, for me, I was like, how does this work? I got no idea, right? But the very first sort of support person I worked with, they introduced me to KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing. Kindle Direct Publishing. So you can go online and you can actually find KDP, which is a website where you can go ahead and upload your manuscript. Now, the manuscript has to be done in a book-ready format, of course, right? So you drag and drop. This is how difficult it is. It's not hard at all. You drag drag and drop your manuscript into Kindle Direct Publishing, right? Now, having said that, as part of the process though, you do have to capture and go and purchase your ISBN, right? Now, for every copy that you create, or what I mean by copy is every edition of the book, you have to have an ISBN. So I've got an ISBN for this book and for my other one as well. And you purchase the ISBN. So you just go to Google and type in buying ISBN. And as part of the upload process for KDB, you have to type in the ISBN that you have purchased. Generally, they cost around $100, and you can buy like, I don't know, as many as you want. For example, if I'm going to produce a different version of the book, I would need a different ISBN. Or if I was going to do an audio copy or an electronic copy, you need a different ISBN as far as I know, but don't quote me. So you have to capture your ISBN, have that ready to go, and have that ready when you are uploading your manuscript to KDB. So then also as part of KDB, what you do is upload the front cover and back cover of your book as well. So you may want to employ a designer to do the front cover and your back cover as well. And that needs to be in certain dimensions, and you need a PDF version of that. Now, once you've done the upload, then KDB and Amazon will kind of take its time, 2 or 3 days, to review what you've done. They're not checking the content, so to speak. They're more checking the measurements and checking if everything is aligning properly, right? Because KDB and Amazon actually do the printing, which is super cool, right? So once you've uploaded it, once Amazon has accepted it, you're pretty much good to go. It will ask you though to determine how much you want to sell the book for, and it will ask you, what markets you want to sell it in. For example, America, UK, and all these different markets, right? So you can select that, and you can select the price for each of the markets as well. What I mean by that though is you actually put in the price, and then it's going to alter the price based on the currency of the different markets that you are selling in, right? Hopefully you're getting some value from this video. It's pretty cool. But so you upload it to KDB, then you decide the price, and then you pretty much click submit, and then Amazon does its reviewing. Then once it's reviewed it, a couple of days later, it'll let you know via email, yep, it's reviewed, it's good to go. And then what you can do is you can start sending people the link for your book, and they can buy it, all right? So you don't have to go to any publishing house and say, please sell my book, or please publish my book. You can pretty much do it yourself, right? Now, definitely there are advantages and disadvantages to, self-publish versus, go to a publishing company. However, that leads on to point number 3, which is all about the marketing side of things. The marketing, right? The marketing of your magical books, right? So I guess my journey has been interesting. When I tell people I've written 2 books, and they say, well, how'd you do that? And I'm like, well, I self-published. And then they often say, well, has it been successful? And then I'll often put it back on them, and I'll say, well, what's your definition of success? What's your definition of success? Are you looking to sell 100 books, 300 books, 500 books, 10,000 books? What's your definition of success? Because for me, I've been quite successful in my mind. What I mean by that is, if you go onto Amazon, you will see my first book has got multiple 5-star reviews. My second book has got, I think, 3 5-star reviews, if not 2 at least, right? Now, that's perfectly fine. The metrics are the metrics, right? But the thing is, ultimately, your book, the success of the book is up to you. The success of your book is up to you. Now, you can certainly go through a publishing company if you want, but they're going to take a huge royalty from whatever they do, you do, all that fun stuff, right? And just because you self-publish, it doesn't mean that you can't sell at a bookstore. It just means you have to have different avenues to access that bookstore, right? So let's come back to me for a moment. So for me, with promoting my book, I've done a number of different things, and all these different things work to a different degree, right? But first of all, I'll tell you one thing I haven't done. I have not done any paid advertising at all. None. No paid advertising. And the reason for that is I just never thought I would want to, because ultimately I would believe that if someone comes across me as an individual and I tell them about the book, they're more likely to go purchase the book, right? But paid advertising is essentially trying to put ads somewhere and getting people to buy the book based on the ad. Now, that's okay to a degree, but I would much prefer that my growth is organic and it lands in the right hands. What I mean by that. So first one is paid ads. Do it if you want to, but just know that that's just going to get your name out there, but it's not going to really trigger anyone to make the decision and buy the book. Second strategy you can use is social media. So what I love to do is I will post regularly on LinkedIn or Facebook or in groups. And I will say, talk about a topic, and then I'll say at the bottom of the post, if you want to find out more, check out my book, and here's a link. If you want to find out more, here's a book, check out the link, right? Or sometimes I'd even put in the link. But for me, that is a long-term, long-game strategy there of I'm sharing my knowledge and then I'm establishing myself as an author with credibility, all right? And that strategy has worked really, really well, and people are like, whoa, where do I get the book? Or, tell me more about the book, right? But two approaches there. You can take extracts from the book and pop it on social directly, or you can just post about a different topic and say, if you want to find out more, ask me about my book, right? So that's the second strategy, social media posting, and I've found that's been a really, really effective strategy. The third one is about podcasts and being interviewed. So for me, I have regularly been invited onto a podcast because I've simply said, hey, recently written some books and I'd love to share them with you and your audience. Would you be willing to have me on? Now, here's the secret, folks. Podcasters, so to speak, they really are always looking for established, credible people. And crazy idea, but as soon as you write a book, the expert credibility positioning in the audience's mind of you goes way up. As soon as you write a book, people go, wow, this person's different. Wow, what have they got to say? And if you're an author, it's a complete game changer, right? So the third one there is really going out to podcast people in your industry and saying, look, recently wrote a book. It's about this, this, and this, and this. I'd love to share it with your audience. Would you be willing to have me on? And I'd love to chat about some of the content. Would you be interested in having me on, right? And that's worked for me so many times. And, over the launch of the book, I've been on like countless podcasts. I can't even remember how many, right? Now, that leads to the next one, which is a book launch, all right? Now, I'm not going to say a hard yes or a hard no on a book launch, because what you don't want is you show up at a venue and you put out all the tables and no one comes along, right? So, yes, you can invite your friends and your family and celebrate and have drinks and all that, right? But ultimately, what is the point of the book launch if no one's really interested in your book, all right? So, if you're selling it at a bookstore, fine, show up, sign copies of the books, but you've got to make sure that people actually know the book is being launched, so to speak, right? So, just think about it as like any other kind of event or kind of, I don't know, kind of party, so to speak, right? So you've got to invite the people. People need to know about the thing. You can't just launch something and then expect people to show up if they're not really interested in your book, so to speak, right? So book launches are great, but I much prefer piggybacking off an existing event. So for me, I did a book launch, but I did it piggybacking off another existing event. And what I mean by that is there was a networking group that was meeting up regularly, and I sort of dovetailed onto it and I said, hey, by the way, just recently wrote a book. Would you be willing to have me come along and launch my book and speak to your audience about the book? Because it may be of interest to them. So I did a semi-book launch, but also piggybacked off an existing audience, if that makes sense, right? And that's a great strategy to use. And you can also go to meetup groups and you can actually go along, talk about the book. They're going to love having you there because a meetup organizer, their biggest challenge that they always face is, how do we find new speakers or new talent, so to speak, to come in and share with our group, right? So the crazy thing is, once you write a book, your credibility goes way up, no matter who you are, right? Which is awesome, right? Now, for me, the next thing I will say is about 5-star reviews. 5-star reviews. So the more you can promote those 5-star reviews, the more you can showcase those 5-star reviews on your social media and say, hey folks, just got another 5-star review. This is what Mary loved about my book. Hey folks, Bill, he just bought my book. This is what he said about my book. The more that's going to organically share and the more that people are going to feel they can trust the content and they're going to be willing to buy the book, right? So let's strip it all the way back, all right? So the first one, you can do paid ads if you want to, paid ads if you want to. Second one, you want to be doing social media posts. It's a really great idea, great strategy. The next one there is essentially book launches, but dovetail off a networking group. The next one is podcasts, inviting yourself along, or even just throwing it out there to the social media world and say, I've just recently wrote a book. Who would love to have me on? You can do that very broadly as well. But also, one final one, if you're doing any conferences or any kind of speaking at a conference, you really want to have it at the back of your room after you've done a presentation. Let them know they can purchase the book, all right? And anytime you speak at a networking group, function, or a conference, let them know you wrote a book, right? So at the end of the day, your success with writing a book really comes back to you. All right. And I just find it funny when people say, did you find that a successful approach? Well, it really comes back to, well, how far do you want to go with your book and why are you writing it? Are you writing it to sell books or are you writing it to position yourself in your marketplace, right? And in my case, it was more positioning and it was also more the love of just getting the ideas out there. And it also was a springboard for people then to come along to my 2-day workshop, which happens in July and December. And for me, it was all about strategically positioning or creating a sales funnel where the book is their first entry point. Now, you may be a mortgage broker. You may be somebody that, bakes cakes. You may be someone that works with people that they're traveling through grief or they're a marketer, right? Any topic at all, if you follow this strategy or this process I've laid out for you, you'll be able to write a book. I mean, it's not too challenging at all, but people worry about getting it right before they get it started, right? And for me, when in my writing style, I just write as I talk. I write as I talk, and I'm not super academic, and I say that in the book. Chapter 1, it's all about what should you expect from this book, and I also make it very interactive. So there's also questions throughout, so that somebody is actually answering questions about the content they've just read, and as a result, it becomes much more of an engaging, interactive learning experience. So, on that note, I believe you got some value from the video, but basically, you got the writing part, you've got the editing part, and you've got the uploading part, and then you've got the sell it part, and if you just follow what I've shared in the video, hopefully you get some value from that, and if you've got any questions, drop a comment, happy to help. And if you want to buy a copy of the book, you can go to Amazon, you can type Create Transformation and you'll be able to find the book, Mark Miles. But I just wanted to let you know, ultimately, success of selling a book is up to you, and it's a lot of fun. It really, really is, and it builds your confidence as well, because when you know that you've written a book, people are buying the book, and you're getting 5-star reviews, it's a really great feeling. And just to know, like for me, it was a huge transformation to think, wow, my content is sitting on somebody's coffee table in their living room or even in their bedroom. That was a huge identity shift for me. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool. So pretty cool when they buy it, pretty cool when they love it, and pretty cool when they share it with their friends as well. On that note, folks, hope you got some value from the video. If you did, like, comment, share. Let's get the message out there. And let's bust through any barriers that are stopping you from writing your masterpiece. Thanks for watching, team. We'll see you on the next one.